Hey everyone, welcome back to Nutrition Made Simple, a video series that we created where we take a look at natural health topics and then we break them down into easy to understand and actionable steps that pretty much anyone can take. And on today's episode here with me, I have Cady Coleman once again. She's the co-owner of Nutrition World. We're excited to be speaking with her once more. And for the month of May, we've been taking a look at women's health essentials. And today we're talking about hormones. Now, we were just speaking a little bit before we recorded, and ladies, I'm so sorry. You guys have it so rough with hormones. It's not even fair. I'm not going to lie. So with guys, we pretty much stay the same our entire life. And I know that's going to be shocking to you. But ladies, on the other hand, constant fluctuation through your entire life.
Constant, yeah.
So that's what we're going to start out with. Cady, I know very little about this, so I'm leaning on you.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about what happens like through a woman's life, how those hormones are fluctuating, and what happens when they do fluctuate.
Sure. Okay, so as he was mentioning, females really, all we are is a fluctuating ebb and flow of hormones. And so that's how, when we're of reproductive age, that's how we are able to ovulate. That's how we're able to have a menstrual cycle, is we have these highs of estrogen, lows of progesterone, highs of progesterone, lows of estrogen, and that's what triggers ovulation. That's what triggers a menstrual cycle. That's why we have phases of our, month, is because we are literally changing and shifting through all these hormones. And hormones are like our master regulators. So hormones are literally these big communicators between so many things in our body, and so many different functions require hormones. And so yeah, it can, for some reason, for some women, it can be a little bit of a roller coaster, because if things aren't optimally working or optimally producing, then you could have some side effects, or you could feel almost at the mercy of your hormones. And I've been there before, so I can say that from a place of experience, but then say that there are some tips that could help you hopefully not feel so at the mercy of those hormones.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so just as a general guideline, what should women be looking for as far as hormonal balance?
Yes.
I don't know if that's age specific necessarily, but can you just give some general options?
Yes. So this is a big topic, and of course I would love to meet people one-on-one to sit down and see what phase of life they're at to really give exact recommendations. But the best recommendation I could give for all phases of life for females, whether they were reproductive age, whether they were premenopause, is to make sure they're consuming healthy fats. Okay. And there's a big reason for that. Every cell in our body has this phospholipid bilayer. That is a fat molecule, fat surrounding that cell. That fat is what allows for hormones to come in and out. That's what allows for toxins to come out of the cell, and nutrients to come in. So the structure of your cells depend on healthy fats, depend on it. And so healthy fats, what are those? Those are nuts and seeds and avocados and coconut oil, and these plant-based fats are wonderful. But even greater than plant-based fats are animal fats, I believe, and this is part of our kind of teachings here within Nutrition World and what we're doing. And so salmon is absolutely a superfood. With its omega-3 content, it is unbelievable in its benefits. Salmon, sardines, which are not very popular to be consumed, but they're wonderful for you. And then grass-fed and grass-finished organic beef. And so I say, when you are consuming an animal, you are consuming what that animal consumed and how that animal was treated. And so a grass-fed beef that was raised on grains and corns and all of these inflammatory foods is yielding a meat that has more inflammation and less healthy fat. Right. So we really need to focus on grass-fed and grass-finished beef. And then the last fat that I meant to mention was organic butter. And again, the reason organic is important is not just for a simple reason of, it lacks toxins. It does, but let's think about the flip side of if it wasn't organic. Fat is the sponge of all of our body. And so in our fat cells, that's where our toxins are. And the same thing for when it goes to cows. That's where they've accumulated their toxins. Mm-hmm. And so with that butter, we're literally milking out all of those toxins and all of that fat. So we've got to have it clean, organic butter.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Anything else in the diet that should be adhered to? I know we mentioned like sugar and insulin levels may be a factor as well.
Yeah, and then one more thing that I did forget to say about the fat is hormones are synthesized from fat. And so that's the last reason that fat is so key for females is you've got to have that clean fat in order for our hormones to optimally produce. No matter what age the female is at. If the female is going into perimenopause and is really close to entering into that phase, we want that to be as graceful as possible. And so we want those fats to be present and still able to give them what needs to be to produce that last bit of estrogen that they're producing, that last bit of progesterone. And we need it coming from the clean fat. And as you mentioned, insulin. So insulin is basically how our pancreas is functioning. It's a measure of that. And what raises insulin, the simple fact is processed carbohydrates and simple sugars. And that's what causes insulin levels to go like this throughout the day. Those ups and downs create hormone disruption. And so we need our insulin levels to be lower on the scale, and you can get that read by a doctor and see where your insulin levels are. But if you were going to take a diet tip, it's the sugars and the processed carbohydrates that raise the insulin levels. So we want to watch those.
Practically, you're eating a lot of refined sugars and carbs. Practically, how do those hormonal changes manifest? Is that something that you can actually feel during the day?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Really, if you felt that 3 o'clock, exhaustion that can come on and it normally could be because that lunch had too many carbohydrates, or maybe it had a sugary drink with it, or it had something that actually spiked that blood sugar a little bit to then have that fall midday. And that fall midday was insulin that had to secrete so much to really metabolize that lunch you had, which then creates this effect. So we see this up-down effect, and that wreaks havoc on our endocrine system to have a constant up-down effect. So.
And lastly, let's talk supplements, because that's a big part of what we do, in case you didn't know. I know there are certain complexes, there are single herbs and plants that are useful as well. Do you have any favorites, or ones that people should be on the lookout for? Sure.
So since we're talking about women of all ages, I could really dive into each phase of life and give specific recommendations, but on here, and for a quick tip that I would love to give, there's a brand called Life Seasons that we've spoke about on here before. And Life Seasons makes a pre-mince tea, is the name of their formula, that has herbs, nutrients, and minerals in it that help balance the PMS symptoms for females. And PMS symptoms could look like mood swings. It could look like sadness, weepiness. It could look like fatigue. It could look like headaches. Really, it's some sort of dysfunction, because ideally we don't have to endure PMS. It doesn't have to be a thing. If we can get to a balanced diet and a balanced root cause, we can actually balance that out, and PMS can be a very smooth transition into your menstrual cycle. This formula is ideal to take all month long, but it can be taken the week prior to your menstrual cycle. So I like to use things all month to really create the balance, but they do have the instructions to use if you need for the week prior. And then lastly would be Positivity by Life Seasons as well, which is a menopause formula. So it's got things like Dong Quai and black cohosh and chaseberry and those things.
Cool. Any last words?
No, I just want women to know that you can gracefully move through these hormonal changes, and you can almost be like an observer of them rather than have to be in the midst of the chaos of the hormonal changes. And so it takes finding the right plan and the right way for you to move through them. But we're here for you to do that, and we hope we've empowered you somewhat with this video. And so it's definitely possible to not be in the chaos of the hormones.
100%. And we will be sure to link all the products that we mentioned below so that you can have quick access to them. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Ask questions in the comments below. You can email us, talk to Cady, come in the store. We're always happy to help in any way that we can. And be sure to please like and subscribe for more content just like this. We're putting these videos out every week. It's really good stuff, and we hope you enjoy it. And on that note, we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. We'll see you.